Hey there, everybody. How's it going? Welcome back to another awesome episode of On the Throttle with Jackie Van Ham and my buddy Josh, talking about all the awesome stuff going on out here in motorcycles and power sports. Regular watchers, welcome back to the program. Welcome back if you're brand new. Welcome to the show. We talk about awesome things going on out here in bike land every single week. And this week, Josh, with a brand new year, all the motorcycle companies are starting to launch all of their new bikes. And I'm going to be talking about some digital launch coming from the folks over at Harley-Davidson and Kawasaki. What are you talking about on today's show, Josh?
So I started out the EICMA had a bunch of great adventure bikes coming out, and one of them finally released prices. So I'm going to talk about that. It may have sent me down a rabbit hole that sent me spiraling out of control. I'm going to take everyone along on that ride with me. And then also, I do not watch many movies, but I've found one that I am interested in watching. So we'll get into that.
Ooh, very interesting. We're all going to have to stay tuned for that story and more after this word from our sponsors.
There are still billions of dollars available for businesses through the Employee Retention Credit Federal Tax Credit Program. Stenson Tamaddon has helped companies with less than 500 employees retrieve over $3.4 billion in tax credits through employee retention credits. Call Stenson Tamaddon today at 866-934-8461 today to start your application. That's 866-934-8461 to apply. Call now.
Well, as promised at the very top of the program, we are jumping right on into this brand new year with some brand new bikes, especially since COVID time. Everybody has been getting down with the digital launch, and our friends over at Harley-Davidson have definitely embraced this platform, hosting multiple huge digital launches every single year. And they've been doing it several times a year, actually, depending on what bike they're launching, giving a little bit of a special attention to certain projects that are going on. So right now, we are having a launch happening. It is January 18th, which is coming up very, very soon. There's already been some leaked and sneak peek photos floating around out on the internet. We talked about it on an earlier program. As always, you can go out on the internet and find all of our earlier shows out on the Facebook or out here on YouTube as well. Let's go ahead and roll a little bit of that teaser video from the folks at Harley-Davidson. And that's about it. Not a whole lot to go on from the folks at Harley. They are trying to keep it pretty tightly lipped. They want you to head over to their website and sign up. That way you can log in and join the big digital presentation. But there has, like I mentioned, there's been a couple of sneak peeks and things floating around on the internet talking about some of the machines that are guaranteed to be revealed, including there's a potential of that 350 bike that we talked about a couple of episodes ago. There is a little bit of rumor floating around that that might make it out there on the digital launch. They're also promising a Breakout 117. Again, that 350 RA might be making it to the digital launch. We're all going to have to wait and see. And a new Electric Glide Highway King has been already leaked out here on the internet. The other little bit of news, though, that is going to be going on as part of this digital launch, picture on your screen shows a great shot of the Harley-Davidson Museum, is that this year is their 120th anniversary. So they're planning a huge party at the museum at Harley-Davidson. It's a bit of a Harley come home type event in July. Normally there is a great big huge Harley homecoming party at the end of August, beginning of September. So this is new and different for them. They are going to be releasing details about that party happening in July as part of this digital launch on January 18th as well. Now, while we're talking Harley-Davidson, another little bit of breaking news that just hit the internet this past week that's been kind of flying under the radar because it was an interview with current CEO of Harley-Davidson, Jochen Zeitz. Jochen Zeitz did an interview with a really upscale design magazine, and as part of this interview, if I can go ahead and grab a pull quote from it, he promises that becoming all electric is a natural evolution for Harley-Davidson. That's a pretty bold statement considering they've had an awful lot of pushback and they had to go ahead and break off the Livewire brand. So for him to come on out and boldly say that this is absolutely 100% where they're headed is a pretty big statement. Now, Jochen Zeitz was very careful to not put a timeline on this statement, so we're all again going to have to wait and see. But I'm very curious to see if the traditional media and traditional V-twin folks pick up on this pull quote and what they have to say about it. Josh, what do you think about this breaking news from Harley-Davidson?
So first off, in that video, yeah, to say that they're playing their cards tight to their chest is, yeah, that might be understatement of the week from you, Jacqui, on that one, because they gave away absolutely nothing other than a date, a time, and a website. As far as the electric stuff, I mean, it's interesting. Harley is in an evolution. They're trying to find new ways to get to new people, and that is a way to do it. But whether they toss their current audience in the process, and like you said, there was no timeline put on this. So they could be all electric by 2100, which I'm going to be gone by then. So what's it matter? It's interesting to hear him say that, though.
Yes, it's really interesting to have them just flat out say it, considering they've been really trying to kind of distance themselves from the EV game out here. Let me go ahead and give you the full quote, because I think it's really interesting that we've got all the details here as much as we can get. At some point in time, Harley-Davidson will be all electric, he told DZine. But that's a long-term transition that needs to happen. It's not something you do overnight. If you look at the past 120 years, the company has always evolved, never stood still. Now, like the founders did at the time by trying to reinvent or invent something unique, that's obviously something that we as a company brand need to do as well. So that's part of the rest of the story going on from the folks over at Harley-Davidson. I thought all of that news was quite interesting. I know I'll be paying attention to the digital launch. They're always really fun and interesting, and great scenery. Sure. They always put a lot of care and attention into detail to making sure that they're just as impressive as can be out here on the internet. So I know I'll be watching again. That is on January 18th. Josh, what do you got going on for your first story today?
So today, in fact, the other day, Suzuki released the pricing on the new V-Strom 800DE and the 800DE Adventure. So this is brand new bike, brand new platform, brand new engine from Suzuki. It's an 800cc parallel twin. Great motors from what everyone's saying so far, from what they're seeing in the design of it, everything like that. Suzuki released the pricing on this, and it is at $11,349. So that doesn't include destination charge, shipping, or anything like that. But once again, it's in an area that we've heard a lot of those numbers on recently. So to me, and I think this is a good value. I think this is a good price point when you look at what you get with this bike. The only disappointment, once again, that a lot of people have mentioned is there's no cruise control from what we've seen, even though it's throttle by wire. So I kind of thought, when I looked at this price, it seemed like there's a couple of other bikes in this price range, or at least in this category. And I know we've talked about this before. So in the next slide, I took a stab here and said kind of what all bikes sit in this adventure category here. And there's a lot of them. So this is where we kind of went down it. And so I started, me being me, I started putting stuff into an Excel sheet. I started analyzing data on what's what, and went, like I said, down this crazy rabbit hole with this. My categories for this, I kind of stuck with 650cc to 900cc. So that way we're in this middleweight adventure bike category here. And I put them in the way that you see the photos here. I put them in order of cheapest to most expensive. As you see in this upper left-hand corner, we have the everlasting KLR. I did need to include that. Next to it, the CF Moto Adventura, the Transalp, then the Yamaha Tenere, the V-Strom 800DE, the Aprilia Touareg, the Tiger 850, the F850 GS, the Moto Guzzi V85 TT. Then we've got KTM's 890 Adventure. Then we've got the Husqvarna 901 Norden. So as I started to dive into these, I started to look at some basic specifications, one of which was price, another of which was engine horsepower. The next one that I looked at was suspension travel. One of the last ones that I looked at was wheel size, because that wheel size really kind of helps you dictate what it's going to be used for. Obviously, the BMW F850 GS there in the center towards the bottom is going to be a little bit more off-road geared than the Triumph 850 with cast wheels next to it there. For all the bikes that I used the base model because, look, we're all not made of money here. And I know if I'm looking at the base model. So I went with those for that reason. Now, the something else that we've got interesting with this is the Honda Transalp. That one, there's no pricing on yet, but we know Honda's aiming for that 10,000-ish range. And that's why I basically put it right next to the Tenere there. So if we go to this last slide that I put in here, one of the things that I did with that is, like I said, this is some of the data that I put in terms of what we're looking at, engine size, horsepower. I also used weight. I forgot about that one. I used weight in this too. Some of the main things that I noticed here is that as the price goes up, it gets decidedly more hardcore geared towards one thing or another. In terms of what they're going to do well, in terms of long-term, short-term, etc. The thing that I really noticed about this is there are 7 bikes here. Let me count that again. 1, 2, 3, 4. I believe it's 6 or 7 bikes here that are all below $12,000 that have some great values. And granted, the CF Moto Adventura is going to have a very different focus than the Yamaha Tenere. And that's some of the things that I think are really neat in this space right now. The thing that I am so excited to see, and this is the reason why I was so stoked when I saw the pricing of the Suzuki, if the Honda comes in below that, but yet still has some more off-road ability, it's going to lack some creature comforts. Everyone's talked about the lack of any adjustability in the suspension. I think we've got a super unique market here. And no matter what, I don't even think you need to lay out a spreadsheet like I did here. You can find a bike that is going to fit exactly what you want to do with it. And I think that is what's so neat about it. Now, on the flip side of this, when you look at this chart and when you look at this graphic as a motorcycle manufacturer, that is crowded. What are your thoughts on that, Jacqui?
Yes. So this is getting a little buck wild. It feels like we talk about a middleweight adventure bike every single week now. We are so spoiled for choice. This used to be the wild, wild west out here. There was nothing in this space. There was maybe 2 bikes and nobody wanted them.
3 bikes.
And now it is just lousy with bikes. And you are missing some bikes on this list. The TRK is not on here. Not to mention the Himalayan 650 is rumored to be coming, not to mention the Moto Morini that I showed a couple weeks ago. I mean, you're missing a handful of bikes. This isn't even totally complete. There's another easily 5 or 6 floating around in the marketplace at least. So yes, this is getting to be a quite crowded space. I mean, I'm excited. The price tags are coming down. That's good news. I love that becomes a little bit more approachable for newer consumers and the smaller displacement, even though these are not small displacement bikes at all, but smaller displacement versus a 1250 makes them also a little bit more approachable. I'm really excited, but it's also like, man, this space is getting so confusing now. I can't keep it straight. There's just so much going on out here, but you know, this is where the market's going. This is where the growth is. So I gotta high five them. The bikes look good. I'm down for that Transalp. I think that bike is slicker than snot on a brass doorknob. I think it is just really excellent. And that's what I gotta say about that. It's a great space. I love your super geeky spreadsheet here. I did fall asleep for a moment, but if you want to go ahead and stick that in the comments after the show, I'm sure our fans of the program will love to check it out.
I'll do that for him.
That's a great story. Thanks for bringing that to us. And I was excited to hear about the pricing of that V-Strom. All jokes aside, that is a cult bike that people love. So that's good news that they've released pricing on it. While we are talking about good news and things that are coming up, again, another company is sneak peeking and getting ready to launch a couple of machines. And they have released the second least if you thought the Harley-Davidson teaser was bad with no information, wait till you see what Kawasaki's got to say. They said hold my beer, because look at this photo from the folks at Kawasaki.
It has
Yeah,
mirrors
nothing.
and wheels.
Yeah, there's total crickets. There's nothing going on here. There's two jet ski watercraft looking things happening and two bikes that appear to have mirrors and wheels. So thank you, Kawasaki. Way to keep the lid on it. Their digital launch is going to be February 1st. All jokes aside, there is a couple of little speculative ideas floating around on the internet as to what could be coming from the folks at Kawasaki. Again, this launch is in a couple of weeks. This is February 1st. The teaser image just landed. Again, it's obviously two jet skis and two motorcycles. At least one model is expected to be the 23 Kawasaki H2SXSE. Kawasaki Europe announced an updated version of this supercharged sport tourer. It was at EICMA, giving the H2SX an automatic high beam, but it hasn't been added to the US lineup yet because it needed to pass a very particular level in order to be introduced to the US market, and that is approval for AHB under US regulations. And we are still waiting to see if it is going to be allowed or not with this high beam. I think I threw a photo in here of the auto high beam. That might be the next slide. I don't remember if I threw it in here or not. I thought it was just really interesting technology. It's a beam that literally like turns on if it senses nothing in front of it. Oh, just another cool Kawasaki. While we were talking Kawasaki a little bit and green machines of what may or may not be underneath that curtain. But the high beam technology I thought was really, really cool because I am blind as a bat. These glasses are not for show. These are for real. The high beam technology turns on if it senses nothing in front of you. It comes on automatically when the bike is going anything faster than I believe about 12 miles per hour. It turns off when it senses more lights or vehicles in front of you coming from the opposite direction. I thought that was a pretty cool piece of technology. I would love to see that here. Again, it has not been technically approved as far as we know for US market, but perhaps that news will be forthcoming on the 1st of February. Josh, what do you think about that? What do you think is coming from the folks at Kawasaki?
Yeah, it's anyone's ball game, and I wouldn't be surprised if they said, "Hey, we came up with a middleweight adventure tour." It's just I wouldn't be surprised there, but nonetheless, it's funny. As soon as I looked at it earlier, that high beam graphic, the thing that I see as a problem with that, and the technology that's going to be difficult to use with this is if you're behind someone. What is it going to do if it sees any sorts of light, like brake lights behind it? Because obviously that's not good either, because we've all driven with the jerk behind us with their bright headlights on also. So we'll have to see how they pan out on that and what they've done. I'm pretty sure that I'm not the first one to think of that issue. Interesting to see. I wouldn't be surprised once again if Kawasaki, I mean, they're the motor company, so I wouldn't be surprised if they came out with something bonsai motor for whatever size it is. I'm excited to see it though.
Yeah, so who knows what's going to end up landing out there? We are all going to have to wait and see. There's rumors that it could be an updated Ninja. It could be again this H2 model. Who knows? We're all going to have to wait and check it out. Again, that is February 1st from Team Green, the folks over at Kawasaki. Josh, what's going on for your second story today?
No surprise, I do not sit long enough to watch a movie, but I think I have found one that I would like to watch. The trailer for the Oregon BDR has just been released recently, and it looks like a good one. So for those of you, we've covered the BDRs in many of these. These are backcountry discovery routes. Literally, they give you a map. They give you where resources are for you, and go have fun. These are people have gone out and ridden these. They've surveyed them. They've made sure that, hey, this is what's probably doable. This probably isn't. And they also make sure that they're going to take you to some of the most spectacular scenery out there. So this is the 12th route that has been done. These are geared towards ADV or dual sport bikes. On this is 750 miles, so you're not doing this in an afternoon. These are meant to be a week-long trip typically. In this, the route is focused on the diversity of the state, which basically goes from desert to forest and mountains. So beautiful diversity throughout the scenery of this state. I'm really excited to see this. Now, what they're doing is February 4th I'm trying to think of the word here. With BMW, they're going to start showing these videos all the way through March 25th at various cities. They have a schedule on their site of when it's going to be where. The closest one to me is Cincinnati earlier in the year. So I am probably going to make that trip down to Cincinnati to go see this. After March 25th, if you're not out on the roads by then, you can watch it on YouTube. I am super excited to see this. Once again, all the BDR stuff is really well produced, and the scenery that you see is spectacular. It's just absolutely amazing. And on top of that, if you want to support the BDR, they've got one more thing that you can do, and that is on our last slide here for the day. You have a chance to win this bike. Now, the drawing is on Friday, so you do not have much time to get your tickets. Hopefully, you're seeing this before Friday. Make sure you go online and get your tickets for this. You can enter to win a drawing that will happen for this. There's obviously a ton of added gear on this Norden 901, which was also in my earlier piece, if you didn't remember that part. But go get your tickets for this, get your chance to win this, and then go take it on the Oregon BDR. I mean, once again, Jacqui, I know I said this before. I think you'd be styling on this bike.
I think so for sure. I love that Norden 901. I love how they've tricked it out. It is beautiful. Yeah. I totally am not surprised by you bringing up the BDR on today's program. Oregon Trail, dying from dysentery. I mean, I wasn't sure exactly where you were headed with it, but I knew it was going to be a good time. I do love the BDR. All jokes aside, you're right. They're digital and media that they put together is always spectacular. It's always beautiful. It's always inspiring. It makes me want to get out and ride dirt bikes. And the minute we shut down this camera here, I'm definitely going to go log on and throw some money at that Norden 901 and take my chances. You can't win if you don't play, Josh.
They've already got all mine. They've already got all my money.
Let's go halvesies on it. I'll throw another 20 in and we'll go halvesies on it. How about that?
Deal.
Awesome. Well, thank you so much. The one last thing I did want to throw into today's show is that there is a really cool trade show going on, an annual show going on here in Louisville, Kentucky, where I am currently located. It is the Parts Unlimited and Drag Specialties MVP. This is their dealer showcase. It's going to be a really, really good time. All the brands will be represented. There's a heck of a party on Friday. So anyways, for any of our dealership folks that are watching the program, which we know we do go out on a blast almost every single week, letting you know what's going on in dealership world. If you want to come say hey, please do. I'm going to be there both days. Hopefully we will see you at the show. So thank you so much for tuning in, everybody. Thank you for clicking, liking, and sharing all of our programs. We will see you next week.